When the fire had finished, and the last of the noise had fallen away, there was no announcement of what remained, no voice marking it, no moment of recognition, just stone. The city that had once held a center now held absence. Where there had been structure, there was open sky. Where there had been ritual, there was silence. Where there had been certainty, there was something harder to name. And along one edge of that emptiness, it stood, the Western Wall, not chosen, not preserved with intention, simply left. A retaining wall built to hold earth in place, not meaning. Never meant to be touched, never meant to be seen. And yet, it was the only thing that did not fall. At first, it meant very little. Those who had lived through the destruction were not looking for fragments. They were carrying loss, the kind that does not send you searching for what survived, but forces you to live with what didn't. Time moved, empires shifted, languages changed, and slowly, almost without anyone deciding it, people began to return, not to rebuild, but to stand. A man, perhaps, at first, then another, then more. They came to the edge of where something had once been, and placed their hands against the stone, not because the stone itself held power, but because it was as close as they could get, close to what had been taken, close to what had once felt certain, close to something they could no longer reach. And in that closeness, something began to form. Not a structure, a practice, a quiet one. No grand declaration, no formal beginning, just a repeated act carried across generations. Hands on stone, heads lowered, words spoken softly, or not at all. The wall did not answer. It did not change. It did not offer anything back. And yet, people kept coming, because sometimes what matters is not whether something responds, but whether it remains. Years folded into decades, decades into centuries, and still it stood. Worn now, marked by time, its surface carrying the weight of everything that had passed in front of it. Not as memory in the way we understand it, but as presence. Something had happened here. Something that could not be rebuilt. And this was the closest point to it. So they treated it accordingly. Not as the center, but as the nearest surviving edge of one. And over time, the space between the stones began to fill. Small pieces of paper, folded, pressed deep into the cracks. Words placed where hands could not reach further. Not to the wall, but through it. As if, somehow, it still stood at the boundary between what is and what was. And perhaps that is why it endures. Not because it was meant to, but because it became something no one planned. A place where absence is not hidden, but faced, where nothing is restored, but something is still held.